Previously in X-Men. I'm Jason Lapidus, and that is Chris Sanagan, and we are coming to you talking about X-Men comics from, at this point, 1976, and we're looking at how the X-Men comics back in the day influenced the hit-making franchise to become the number one best-selling comic of its time in the 1980s, the generational cartoon in the 90s, and the blockbuster film franchise in the 2000s, totaling 13 feature films, which is incredible. And now we can look forward to the MCU and the X-Men's arrival and make some pretty solid predictions as to what will come based on what has worked in the past repeatedly. So today we're here to talk about the all-new, all-different X-Men number 98 from Marvel Comics. Chris, did you enjoy this issue?
Well, yeah, because it was only a quarter. Still only 25
It's still only 25 cents. So this is when comics are starting to go up in price. DC is experimenting with pushing the boundary. They're up to, I think, 35 at this point, and it's controversial.
I enjoyed the issue for sure. We'll get into it. I think one thing I didn't realize I enjoyed, and we talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, is that I never considered myself a giant X-Men fan, but as I go through these, I forget how much I actually am drawn to many of the characters. And the Sentinels as an antagonist is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And I had kind of forgotten that. And one of the best parts about the Sentinels is that they're just giant robots. So they can be like destroyed in any which way possible. All to say, we'll get into it, but I think, bring on more Sentinels. I want more comics with more Sentinels.
Yeah, I hear you. And I feel similarly. I think a lot of our favorite action adventure franchises have, at some point, a killer robot.
Yeah, and it's a cool design too. I was struck by how much I actually really enjoyed the design of the Sentinels.
Oh, good.
The kind of the facial kind of dead face. I enjoyed. Although I do think that they're standing on top of that building. Is that building must be structurally, beyond any, because it looks like it might collapse.
You, sir, must be an engineer if you figured that one out. Yeah,
they're up there. They're hanging out. Anyway.
Yes, before we get into the cover and then the interior, just wanted to give context as to where we're at in the X-Men. So it's issue, like I said, issue 98, as you can clearly see before you. And this series had been running since about 1963. It goes into reprints. Basically, Marvel decides to not publish any new material, new covers, and just keep the numbers going. And remember, that's back in a time when their back issues were not available. They were not collecting them in any kind of trade paperback editions. So if you missed a month as a kid, you just never found that issue unless someone had it in an old shoebox and you traded with a neighbor or something like that. So it was not uncommon for poor selling titles to just be reprints of older things. So that's what we're seeing here. And that's before this. And then in 75, they decide to reboot the series, bring in a whole new team, take the core concept and just try again, but with a more diverse group of characters and with a little bit of new blood. So new writing team, new artist team, and moving forward. So we've now gone through 6 issues, 5 issues before this.
No, this is number 6.
This is the 6th issue of this new series of characters. Cyclops is sort of the one remaining team member from the previous iteration. And it's neat to see. And these characters all become huge hits within Marvel. Not to toot his horn too much, but I was listening to Rob Liefeld's podcast yesterday, and he did an episode that he said it was about analytics, which is really cute because Rob's version of analytics is just taking a number at face value as opposed to cross-referencing different numbers to come up with a unique calculation that shows a hidden value. So he was talking about basically average number of units sold per month.
Okay.
And he considered that to be analytics, which is cute. And he was looking at what titles were selling in the early 70s through the late 70s and then into the 80s. Mm-hmm. And it was neat to see X-Men starting, when our show is sort of starting. Yes, entry-level Thanks for that.
Very nice.
Very entry level
Very nice.
analytics.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, there's
You
a number. I'm
you
going to
gotta
read
start
this
somewhere.
number.
The intern's got to learn.
Yeah, there's no math. I'm just going to read from a list, he says. Thanks, Jeff. It's true. So X-Men is nowhere near, it's like bottom 20 selling title. It's selling around 75 to 85,000 units a month, which sounds like a lot from our point of view. We would love to be in that situation. And then with modern comics, that is a really good number. With comics in the 1970s, you can, the number one book was selling well over 250,000 copies a month.
So,
and eventually, and it's like Amazing Spider-Man is their perennial. By the end of the 70s, X-Men becomes the number one book and into the 80s. And we are reading the run that takes this from selling, like I said, about 75,000 copies per month to being the number one book and breaking 300,000 every single month. Really putting out great numbers and spinning off into multiple series, right? There's going to be a second series called New Mutants. Then there's another series called Classic X-Men, which I love reading, which is reprints. Then we get I'm not putting this in the correct order here, but we're going to get eventually Wolverine ongoing series. There's an X Factor series.
Right.
And then New Mutants turns into X-Force. And then a second X-Men title.
Is that what happens? Okay.
Oh yeah. So it starts to really balloon. It's really impressive. But these things all start where we're at. And so we get to sort of see the beginning. The other thing that's been happening before this issue, just to keep everyone up to date, is that Professor X, the character Professor X, has been experiencing nightmares for well over 100 days. He just keeps having these visions of space battles and aliens and things that are weighing on him very, very heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've seen this underground plot brewing from some evil scientist dude to bring back the Sentinels, and it looks like it's happening now.
Yeah, and it's this cover is action packed. One thing again I'm loving about the covers are action packed. I know that is the intention and by design to draw your eye and to pick the comic book up. They seem to do it better than others.
I like how it just shows us like the role that Wolverine plays on the team in terms of his fame. He's not the number one character, right? Colossus is the largest figure of the X-Men on the screen or on the cover.
Yeah.
And Wolverine is the furthest. And that's not because of strategy. It's just because he's not the famous character. He's not the one they think is going to be the breakout character, but he's
breakout star,
hacking that brain right out of that Sentinel, which is pretty cool. And you mentioned before about the scaling. This is a consistent problem with Sentinels and Galactus in all early Marvel comics. Sometimes they're just like ogre sized. Sometimes they're multiple story building size. Just for instance, look at Nightcrawler, who I think is supposed to be scaling that exterior wall of a building. So how big are those windows if Nightcrawler is, he can't stand in the floor in that building. He's too tall. So
that is a building designed for ants.
Yes. We just have to let that stuff go because it's lighthearted and all good fun. And I love it. So we're okay. The Sentinels are back. Enough said. I'm reading it. I'm going to just change the view here for a moment. I am reading it in the classic X-Men version.
And what a different cover too, by the way.
Cover by Arthur Adams. The interior art
that's why. Okay.
It's Art Adams and maybe Terry Austin on inks. I haven't looked close enough.
That's badass.
Wouldn't be surprised. And I'm also reading it in the Essential X-Men version, which is all the black and white stuff, which is great. And the inks come out super, super clean in this form. So it's very, very cool. But I like to, that's how I'm reading. How are you reading it?
I'm reading it on good old DVD-ROM.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's on a disc. And then I put the file on the computer and it becomes a PDF.
That's insane.
I know it is. Who knew this technology still exists and we have computers to run it? But we do. 40 years of X-Men. This is pretty cool. This is a pretty cool set. Includes over 485 complete printable comics.
Yeah, look at this.
Every issue through August 2005.
It's really amazing. All right, so let's crack this one open.
Homework. It's fun. Shall we go into it?
Please do. And it's so timely.
It is. Oh my goodness! Because look at that. Merry Christmas, X-Men.
We're not seeing anything yet. We got to get you. There you go.
Merry Christmas, X-Men.
Merry Christmas, X-Men. I love it.
I don't know. We didn't plan this, but to have this issue fall in the holiday season seems pretty appropriate. I had no idea when I opened the first page. It's meant to be. Meant to be.
Yes, it is good. So this one's written by Chris Claremont.
Right.
And Dave Cockrum does the pencils, and Sam Granger does the inks. And it's a solid issue. It's really good. We get to see, as we mentioned before, this is the first time we're going to see Wolverine right there with no mask.
Mm-hmm.
And the design of that wacky hair, seeing where it starts and seeing where it goes. We're going to see some changes to his hair over the years.
Right.
But this page features a couple of really interesting things. So if we just say
I noted an interesting character in the bottom right corner of the page.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a second.
Should we make it bigger?
If you want to. So we get Claremont doing what Claremont does best, which is some great narration. Actually, I shouldn't say that he does that best. Maybe he does a few things best, including character, fleshing out characters over a long period of time. He's great at that, and relationships and all that stuff. But he really loves to orate and kind of get into it and use language to set a scene. And these comics really allow him to do that. And he's one of the earlier Marvel writers that do it really well. And yes, he's verbose, but it's kind of got its own charm too, because he has a love for language and for being melodramatic, and he's really good at it.
I agree. So, I think exactly. If you actually really do enjoy language,
yeah,
a lot of people who do read stories do.
So the X-Men are there at Rockefeller Center. They are enjoying the Christmas tree and taking a look at the rink. Moira is there. Banshee's wearing in your copy, a blue cap. Mine's been recolored for whatever reason.
Interesting.
And so they're hanging around. Wolverine's wearing a scarf. I love the idea that Wolverine wears a scarf. It's just adorable. Jean is wearing a very Christmassy.
Jean is wearing something straight out of Little Women.
Yes.
Because apparently that's her dress sense. Her dress sense in the 1970s goes towards the 19th century.
Nightcrawler's using that image inducer thing again.
Yeah.
To disguise who he is. So he's there, as Errol Flynn almost.
Yeah.
And Colossus is small again. They really just haven't figured out how, or I should say they. Cockrum just keeps changing his size. Like he isn't a bruiser. He isn't so huge.
Because even without the metal, he should be a big guy.
Big.
That's the point. Yeah.
And Storm has her regal furs on, fur-collared jacket. No hat or anything. She can manage this weather. So it's just fun.
She's a weather goddess.
So you see in the bottom right corner who?
Yeah, I see Nick Fury.
Nick Fury. I think it's
He's
more
got
than
the eye patch. I can't do anything on my end to demonstrate that. But
well, what would you like me to do to change it?
I don't know.
I can do that.
You can do that. So
that's the most I can do.
So 4 people up from the bottom right corner is a gentleman with an eye patch who I took to be Nick Fury because I mean I don't know unless they were just talking about something else, but it seems kind of. Anyway, that was just artistic on the sizing. Anyway, blue must have been gang colors. Maybe.
You know what it is?
76. Looking
at the version I have in front of me, Jeff, Banshee is wearing it changes the fabric when you change the color. So Banshee's blue coat looks kind of like just a winter, like a ski jacket or whatever. But when you make it the color of brown that it is in the version I have, it turns into leather very quickly.
Okay.
And Nightcrawler's jacket going from purple, it's brown in mine as well. I could go on and on. I don't want to harp on it, but every single person's jacket is different in mine.
That's so interesting.
And it works fine in both. We're no big deal.
Yeah. So is that Nick Fury or is that not?
It is. To me, it's Nick Fury, especially because of who he's with.
And is that Valentina?
There you go. Way to go. So
way to go, with the no knowledge.
To connect to the MCU, we have Sam Jackson's character, Nick Fury, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character in Valentina, Contessa, whatever her name is.
Whatever.
Contessa, or Valentina, call her whatever you like. Now, tell me something. This is New York City.
New York City.
It is nighttime.
Looks like it.
Why is there a dude walking in the front wearing sunglasses with orange hair?
Well, I mean,
Cheers.
wearing sunglasses is always a cool thing to do, and New York's a cool town. So,
Well, who else lives in New York who has red hair and wears sunglasses all the time?
do you think that's Matt Murdock?
I think that if you decide that that's Matt Murdock, then I will go with you.
All right, I love it.
Hey,
Let's
Nick
do it.
Fury's there. Why isn't Matt Murdock there?
So then, is this just a slight fun and nod, a Christmas surprise? Is that what this is? A treat?
I say go with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
That's awesome.
Jeff is saying it's so they don't have to pay royalties. It's like new artwork, not the original artist's work anymore. If you think that's why they're recoloring it, and to me it seems like it's work. I don't think they actually, as far as I understand, when it comes to these deals, when you get a page rate and you finish your artwork, you do not get paid for reprints.
Right.
It's work for hire. You make the art and you move on from there.
I also like how Claremont has a hot political take where he says in his first little bubble there, but politicians who couldn't care less. Ooh.
Right.
Hot take, Claremont, on the politicians.
Right. That's awesome.
It is awesome, actually.
All right, let's keep going. So we've got arguably Daredevil there, which
arguably Daredevil and Nick Fury and the Contessa.
And the other heads, I haven't figured out who they might be, but I have taken a look.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's continue on because there's more to come.
Here we are.
It's just the regular banter of the characters as they're, enjoying some Christmas fare, or enjoying being out at Christmas and having fun. And they're talking about the weather and Storm talking about in Africa, of course. Yep. And there's some Santa Claus action there. And there's these two other girls there that both Peter and Kurt are interested in.
This is the second issue in a row where they have tried to, or they've shown a scene where Peter and Kurt engage women.
I like that they're wingmen. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And Kurt is all about just getting some. He's the charmer, and Colossus is the quiet buddy who comes along, who's handsome and everything. So yeah, the girls comment about the guys. We get some Peter saying stuff from Nightcrawler, which is again like a staple of X-Men comics. You get to learn some basic phrases from characters.
I learned German from
Nightcrawler. Yeah. And then you get this amazing image of Wolverine.
Yeah,
this is the first close-up of this guy with no mask on,
and Count Floyd hair. For all those SCTV watchers out there,
I was also thinking about is it the Frankenstein? No. What was that show called?
Hilarious House of Frightenstein?
Is it called Frightenstein? Thank you.
Yeah,
the Hilarious House of Frightenstein with the green version of Dracula.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I've seen Widow's Peaks before. I don't know what this is. I don't know what he's thinking when he draws the peak of Wolverine's hair down between his eyebrows. Anyway. But he's smoking a cigarette, has an incredible haircut.
And he's always smoking, right? That's kind of something that becomes his trademark. No one else does that. He is the one who seems to always do that.
So just to identify with our fellow Canadian here in Wolverine, just, what about me, Miss Gray? I got no use for Christmas.
Right?
That sums me up.
He's such a Grinch. I love it.
So I think that should be my avatar for the rest of the month.
It should, just that picture.
And then, they're going on a date. Scott and Jean have this big thing. Remember, Jean has not been on the team, right?
Right, she left.
She left the team. So she's been living in New York with her roommate, Misty Knight.
Is that her roommate? Is Misty
It is. And that's happening in the backstory, the backup stories.
Okay. All right.
And in new panels. But it's sort of, Chris Claremont was also, writing other titles. Sure. And he has some connections to some of those other New York characters. And so Misty Knight, you and I both know from the Luke Cage television show and the Defenders.
Yeah.
But she goes way back as being a supporting character at this point.
She does. Yeah. Okay.
So mid-70s, right? We see her. And then there's this really odd thing.
There really is an odd thing here.
The top of the next page. Do you recognize anybody?
Of course.
Okay, so Stanley and Jack Kirby walk out of
Jack Kirby.
the Rockefeller Center, I guess, both smoking away, and it looks like Stan is wearing a toupee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
And Stan was wearing a toupee, so that's fair.
Sure.
And just to like put this in context, remember, Jack Kirby leaves Marvel at the end of the 70s, and he's goes to DC, comes back, and so he's back here by this point.
So he has left Marvel, but he is back.
He's back at Marvel, and this is when he gets back onto drawing Captain America, drawing Black Panther. He creates the Eternals, and Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy, like his sort of last run at Marvel, which is cool. But that's why he appears in this comic book. Dave Cockerman is giving him some shine and having a laugh. Well, hello there.
And that's the original creative team of the X-Men.
Yeah, the original creative team of the X-Men. Yeah, it's Stan and Jack. And so to give a little nod, putting them in here, they're just having some fun. So we've seen Nick Fury, we've seen the Contessa, we've arguably seen Matt Murdock, and
our favorite guy,
one of our absolute favorites, Stanley, Jack Kirby. And the crazy thing is, when Scott takes off this jacket and we see Jean's black dress, I have to tell you, even as a kid, I recognized that dress. Because events are put in motion that are going to affect comics for the next gajillion years. That's a scientific fact. Okay. No spoilers here. Like, everyone knows what's coming. Eventually, we all know Jean Grey becomes the Phoenix, and Phoenix becomes the Dark Phoenix. And I'm not sure if you know how that all ends.
No, not really. No. Let's just say no. Doesn't come to mind.
When I was collecting Marvel comics,
does it end well? I bet it ends well.
It's amazing. At some point, though, there is a death, and there is a rebirth, and there's another death and another rebirth.
Sure.
And they recovered Jean's body in the mid to late, like around 1987.
Okay.
And she's like, it's from this day. It's this dress.
Really?
So, well, I don't want to. I guess I could say what's going to happen. There's going to be a battle in space. She's going to get the Phoenix Force thing happen. They're going to crash land on Earth.
Yeah. And
the Phoenix, they retcon it later. It's like her body kind of goes into a cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, and the Phoenix comes out as what everyone thinks is Jean Grey, but it's really just a completely separate body with the Phoenix powers. It's all nonsense. None of it matters. My point was just going to be that when I meet this character again, when I am introduced to her as a kid in around 87, she's still wearing that dress. Like, when I saw this, I'm like, oh, it's coming. I know that they find her in suspended animation in that dress. So it's very memorable for me because that's the costume in which I was introduced to the character.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So they're on their date, and look at
that. That head of Cyclops, the bug eyes.
Oh my Lord, no.
Yeah.
It can't be them, not them.
He even says, you know how Cyclops, we said, has a real knack for saying things like Mr.?
Yes.
He even says little lady.
Little lady?
On the previous page. It's his anachronisms are just, everyone's moved on and he's still, Dragnet in the 60s,
Yes, he's hilarious. He's written in a very old-fashioned way.
It really is.
I love that the Sentinels take the time.
They're really
now
good
that they have returned.
Entering buildings.
But just, prepare to meet your Doom mutant for, okay, I get the idea of saying, I like some trash talk, but to say the Sentinels have returned, talk about yourself as a third person.
Yeah, it's a third person robot talking.
Yes.
It's
great page, though.
It's wonderful. Great page. Absolutely.
I think the art in this issue is better than the last, truthfully.
Yeah, it's getting, I agree. These pages, again, sounds like he wants a punch in the gut. Yeah, which is Wolverine offers on many occasions.
So you have seen a lot of X-Men, though, with all the movies, and now you've been reading some
I am up on all the films.
Kevin from Toying Around, or Kevin aka Toying Around, has seen a lot of X-Men. Jeff Pacito has seen a lot of X-Men.
Okay.
Have any of us ever seen Cyclops' lenses flip up to shoot out optic blasts from his glasses? This is the only time I've ever seen it, and it's a wacky.
Is that what's happening there?
That's how I'm reading it. If
He's
you
got
want to read
flip-up
that,
sunglasses, flip-up ruby quartz glasses?
well, his frames are still around his eyes.
Right, I know. I
There
thought it
are
was like almost a mistake. Like we're showing it through the glasses.
No.
Like, wouldn't I just melt the glasses?
there are reflective lenses above the eye that is reflecting the light back down, so it's highlighted.
Right.
I can see the outline of the lens above his brow. We can see it sticking off of his face on his right eye. Yeah, his lenses have popped up, and he is
Look at that.
shooting out of these flip-up ruby quartz glasses. It is a absolutely crazy thing that I've never seen before or since, and it is ugly, and I think it's stupid.
Yeah, but we start to see a new. It is. I agree with you on all those counts. We also start to see a new display of Jean's powers.
Right.
Right. She's kind of like in this. I don't know, manifestation of power around her as she uses her various mental faculties.
Yes.
Right.
And she comments, right, that she's more powerful than she was before.
Right.
They comment right away that the Sentinels are programmed to defend against the original X-Men's powers, so they're kind of impervious to what they believe are the X-Men's powers. But Jean says, well, it could be that...
Have I got a Christmas surprise for you?
Yes. It could be that this ugly, she calls it an ugly.
Yeah.
It could be that this ugly doesn't know my telekinetic powers are a lot stronger now than it was then.
Yeah.
And then she uses them and knocks the thing over. Warning, warning.
Yeah.
Trash talk detected. Beautiful move, Jean. And then he uses full power and knocks the innards right out of that thing. That's a really great shot of it.
That is a great shot.
And little things that Cockrum is doing, like breaking the panel border at the top with its head.
Yeah.
That is one of those things that it adds to the dynamism of the panel. I don't know how much proper perspective Cockrum is using to create them being at the top of this building to create the height. But it works either way. Like all the buildings look fine, so it's cool. And I'm drawn to, of course, the sound effect. Spakow! Did you know that Spakow was the noise of a Sentinel's guts
innards being blown out?
I would have gone with Gritchow, but
I know, I would have
that's
gone
just me.
Gritchow.
So then, like the next panel, you can see the size difference. Look how the Sentinel's now holding Jean.
Yeah.
I should just say it. It's not a he, but
No,
it's not that big.
No. Now she is almost a third of its size.
Yes. So Kevin, who has the unbelievable Marvel Legends Sentinel crowd-funded action figure that is like the size of his son, his 3-year-old son. Like, yeah, if this is a much easier toy to make, this version.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the real one is an incredible toy. These are really cool. All right, the Sentinels are fighting. They think Cyclops is dead. They use a gas to...
Classic villain move. Knockout gas on the pretty lady.
Yes.
Classic villain move.
Maybe there's a reason. Maybe they want her alive for something.
Maybe.
So,
Kevin, does your Marvel's Legends come with knockout gas?
No, Kevin generates that himself.
Ooh. I'm gonna lob them to you. You're just gonna...
Thanks, man. So the Sentinel takes unconscious Jean away, and Cyclops is hanging on for dear life.
He really is.
And of course, he has to talk out loud.
How long can I
I
survive?
love the William Shatner, but for how long?
Yeah, it is really Shatner-esque, isn't it?
Yes, but we don't have to spend any time on that. We can move on if you like.
Of course.
Slim Jims. Oh my God.
Jims.
Nice ad. And then, yep, down on the street level, stuff comes crashing down. Banshee recognizes what's going on right away.
Yeah, he gets pretty intense pretty fast.
Oh yeah, he obliterates his clothes with sonics.
With his masculinity.
And right away, as he's about to fly away, Wolverine jumps on his leg.
Yep. Wait for me.
Yeah, not Wolverine's best look. Wait up, bub.
Herc, wait for me, Herc.
If there's a fight brewing, then the Wolverines.
Yeah.
Go.
Here's that the Wolverine again. Here's that.
Yeah, he's not Logan yet. Remember, they don't know his name.
Yeah.
So he's still the Wolverine, which really means the writers don't know his name.
What are we gonna call this guy?
He's the Wolverine. And then Storm does her cool power up. They call her that black chick.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I think that's the least of our worries when it comes to early portrayals of Storm. Calling her that black chick is a sign of several things from 1976.
Yeah.
The least of which is the lack of sensitivity or creativity, but that's what is really there.
Mm-hmm.
I like how she also retorts to the guy. So he says, she's glowing like the sun. What's going on here anyway? She says, more than you can ever know, human.
Hey.
He's beneath her, which is fair. Okay. Now, in my copy, I'm just going to change the view for a sec.
Oh, sure. Do you have a different?
Hello. We've got an additional page that I've already forgotten the name of the artist. They fill in where Wolverine and Banshee are.
Right. That's
because it is clearly missing in the actual.
Yeah, they say that in the book where they say, well, they got taken, and you're like, oh, but it turns out that they fought a Sentinel.
Wolverine gets knocked through a story of a building and a water tower for effect.
Wow.
So this is again written 10 years later.
We now know more of his power set. So
sure.
Going through a building.
But that's still quite a beating.
I would say so, yeah.
Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Storm goes to rescue Cyclops.
Yep.
And
she has a nice showdown with the Sentinel.
Yeah, there's that looming shadow. And remember I was telling you about screen tone?
Yes.
So that's another example of zipatone, this sort of cutout. You basically take this sheet of stickered pattern with your X-Acto knife and cut out a shape and stick it right on the line art.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates that black. It adds black ink when they go to print. So that's where you get those gray effects.
Nice.
And whereas you and I, I've been using ink wash to do that.
Right.
Dave Cockrum is using zipatone, or actually would be Sam Granger. Anyway, we get a Zapow from the Sentinel, knocking out Cyclops again. He's taking a beating today.
And a classic Storm monologue.
Yeah.
Not be destroyed.
She's super, super powerful. I actually would have liked that. I like that drawing a lot of her. I would have liked that hand to come out, truthfully. Yeah. I want that first finger. No, sorry, it's her middle finger. I want it breaking that panel.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Just to add to the intensity, like her word balloon does.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's just one little note from me I wanted to see. Yeah, my issue is really
got
colored.
Got that note, Cockrum?
Yeah. And then we get a little bit of a detour to. Oh no, sorry.
No,
the fight scene there.
Fight scene, and this is cool too because again, we are the Sentinels as an old adversary of the classic X-Men lineup are programmed to counter their power set, where the new X-Men, of course, have a whole different power set, and the Sentinels have no response. So it's actually quite cool because. Tables turn quite quickly, and the magnitude of the power of these new characters is on display.
Magnitude. Pop.
It's a $10 word.
Yeah, there you go. That was a reference for all you community fans out there.
Very nice.
I love the effect over the city. That looks really cool. The lightning and cool. The Kirby crackle, and it's very, very cool. The hurricane floating above Rockefeller Center. Yep. So eventually Storm brings it to a halt, and she reminds Cyclops and the reader how much control she has over everything.
And Cyclops, once again, has an ugly cry face, kind of.
Well, he realizes the professor's in danger.
Cry, angry face.
A fair concern.
But Cockrum's face is especially Cyclops. I feel he doesn't really. He just never doesn't seem to get a handle on the comfort with drawing his face.
Sure, I think it's partially the fact that he's almost always scowling or sulking,
Right.
and he draws him too old. He draws him like he looks like he's 50.
Yeah.
And he should, maybe be college grad age.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Younger. Yeah, younger.
But anyway.
All right.
Then here we are in what ocean are we in? The Bahama.
One of them.
Near the Bahamas. The Bahama Out Islands. And Professor X is there on
With
a
his
vacation.
Pipe smoking bud.
With Peter Corbeau, PhD.
Does he come
twice
back?
Nobel Prize winner and director of the UN's Project StarCorps, which sounds a lot like Space Force.
Does sound like Space Force. Is Corbeau someone who's around the X-Men in later issues?
I only know him from this.
Okay, they seem to make like a lot of effort introducing him. So I just assume not like, hey, he's just with his buddy Peter.
We will see more of him, but I know him from this arc, this broader arc. On Professor X's face, under his chin, the front of the brim of his hat, we see more of that Zipatone stuff being used.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't look good.
No.
I get why they're doing it, but this is one of the times where it doesn't come out nice. Maybe they chose the wrong zip.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they could have chosen a different dot pattern, but it doesn't look nice at all. So Corbeau was talking to him about specifically analyzing what Professor X has said he's been seeing in a dream. There's a particular binary star system he keeps saying he's seeing repeatedly. And so Corbeau is saying there's nothing in our solar system or any charted space from even the Avengers or the Fantastic Four that has seen anything like it in over half the Milky Way. It can't be found. We know, of course, that it's beyond that. It can be from outside the galaxy. I mean, it can be from another dimension for all we know. Right. There are no limits, right? Yep. So things keep going. Xavier's exhausted. They talk. And then,
boom.
What's going on? Oh my gosh, look at that.
That's pretty great.
Beautiful.
Right? Rising out of the water and making threats. Sentinels do.
Yep.
And Xavier using his mind power.
I have some come for you. I mean, I have come for you. It's odd. I have come for you.
Come for you.
Very well, Sentinel. You have found me.
Very well, Sentinel. Right?
Yeah.
Good job, Sentinel.
Another matter. I love the danger. Mutant
danger. Will Robinson. Danger. Yeah. And he I guess he doesn't destroy the Sentinel but he kind of pushes it back into the water.
Yeah, he just penetrates its shields.
Right.
But again, I like the art. I think the art in this one is better than previous issues. The boat takes off and it's got some hydrofoil action going on.
Some sweet hydrofoil action.
Do you think hydrofoils were just extra special cool in the 70s?
Well, I went on one in the 90s. It seemed a bit outdated by then.
I went on one in the 90s as well.
Yeah.
Where in the world were you?
South China Sea.
I was in the Mediterranean.
Interesting.
Off the coast of Naples.
I was in a hydrofoil on the way to Macau.
I was on the way to Capri.
Having stopped over in Madripoor.
All right. So then that's an awesome. So we again get that weird bug-eyed space helmet thing.
Yeah.
And remember, Star Wars hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So, I think they're ahead of the curve on this. Like, let's take these characters cosmic. Let's get some star action in here. They're ahead of the curve.
Right.
Of course, the U.S. space program is in full swing.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of really cool stuff happening. But in terms of sci-fi and pulp culture, Star Trek is almost a decade. Nah, what was it? 66 to 69.
Something like that.
So it's about 7 years since it was on. I'm sure it's been in reruns constantly, and there are other space programs, but Star Wars is yet to. It's talked about, but it's over a year away. Anyway, then there's a really great picture of that Sentinel bursting through.
That's a great shot.
Yeah,
that's a great shot.
You cannot escape us, mutant. And Corbeau is underwater, and he's going to drown.
Except then he taps into his PhD power. Did you know you could do that if you had a PhD?
Totally. I've heard of such a thing. All right.
Yeah.
I get in another page, which I'm not going to show, which is Peter and Nightcrawler. Peter and Kurt are on a date with those girls. They're walking on the boardwalk.
What? Seriously?
Yeah. Okay, I'll show you then, since you're so interested.
Well, I mean, they seem to strike out, but I thought...
No, man, those girls were interested. Wow. So there they are. Hold on,
now, and Colossus is much bigger now.
Well, right? This is art done 10 years later, and it's a different artist.
Right.
And
anything interesting happen on this date?
Yeah. And there's an allusion.
Oh.
Not illusion, but allusion.
Oh.
The girls are not who they say they are.
Oh.
The last one says, I'm going to see you again, Nightcrawler, my blue and furry elf. You can bet your life. So these backup issues and whatnot,
is it
backstories? There's talk about they're really building up the Hellfire Club as this like they're fully aware of the X-Men. They have planted cameras in their
mansion,
and they're keeping track of everything. So I think that's Emma Frost.
Okay, I would say that if I would say Emma Frost is out of Nightcrawler's league,
and then
if I had to, I would. I mean, good for him.
I get a second page.
Oh, you do.
Back at the school, the X-Men are now training again. It's after they've had. It's been 4 days since
Colossus is lifting mattresses and moving beds.
Cyclops is trying to reach out to find the professor or anyone, and he can't find them anywhere on Earth.
Oh, and there's the Hellfire Club.
And then the Hellfire Club is like, "Yeah, we're watching you guys. You guys are stupid."
Oh, is that then the Watcher from the Watcher from the Watcher? Do you remember in issue, must have been the previous issue, where they had like the video in the video in the video?
Yeah.
And we're like, who's that last video? Oh, but then we were the video. We were actually the fourth video. The third video. Okay.
When you get the 10 years hindsight, you can really put those threads together nicely.
Yeah.
And if anyone...
Where's the Marvel legend for evening wear Jean Grey? That's what I want to know.
We can get you accustomed there, buddy. Don't worry. Kevin and Jeff, if you're still listening there, if you haven't read Ed Piskor's X-Men Grand Design, he has the advantage of 50 years or 60 years of history and some hindsight, and so he's able to see what threads are there all along and weave them together in this larger kind of retelling of the entire thing. So yeah, you can add in Mr. Sinister when you need to. You can throw in Apocalypse references when you need to for this larger story. Anyway,
which, by the way, I do like in that first panel there, time cut now. I'm like, whoa, we should use that. Time cut now. It's an awkward thing. It makes sense. I know exactly what it means.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that thing in front of Wolverine? It's like an X-ray device looking at his.
I think it's some
aura.
Yeah, I think it's some. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, because it's the yellow is his body.
Sure.
So
we've got Professor X.
He's got some weird shit.
We got Professor X in a Bacta-tank. Well, not really. Just
he really is.
No, if there were bubbles coming out, I would have said it's a Bacta-tank. Okay. But Jean is hooked up. Wolverine's hooked up. Banshee's hooked up. Showing off his beautiful costume, and there is Stephen Lang himself.
Yeah, wearing his villain suit.
Yes, as
whatever those things are.
It's sort of like a spacesuit, and we see the other people. They're astronauts. Now we know this because we're ahead of the story.
Oh, okay, because they kind of look like the guy from Spaceballs.
True. Which guy from Spaceballs?
The assholes from Spaceballs.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I don't know if can we say that on this?
Sure.
Yeah, that was right. Number one, sir. That was like instead of Stormtrooper, that was their rank.
Yes. So Dr. Lang, excuse me, sir, but the solar radiation storms show no signs of abating. We'll have to shut down Sentinel operations for the time being. So there are some solar flare issues, some radiation storms.
Yeah.
This is some foreshadowing. I don't know, sir. Is this Wolverine a mutant? His readings are nothing like the others. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. He's got a little smirk on his face, too. Look at him, man. It's like,
And
that's
this is-
right, buddy. I ain't nothing like you've seen before.
We're seeing him topless. We're seeing the first drawings of his chest hair.
Yeah.
So, like, he's hairy, but he's not John Byrne drawing him hairy.
Right.
You wait till the next art team gets on this, and they're going to take him to a whole other level. He's a rug, a human rug. But mutant or no, whatever the Wolverine is, he isn't human. Keep it up, bub. Yeah, I love Wolverine. Looking great.
Oh, absolutely.
And then Jean Grey calls Stephen Lang a Nazi.
Yeah, is that because he is a Nazi?
No, it's because he's being systematically genocidal.
Okay, I mean, sure.
Right.
I just didn't know if there was a backstory where he was.
No. I think the fact he's like Aryan looking and mean,
Sure.
and doing experiments on those who were different than him,
right, and trying to like eradicate an entire.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Right. I think that's what that's about.
Gotcha.
So then why start with the X-Men? He's like, because the X-Men have been the most effective mutant opposition to the Sentinels, because you, Cyclops and Xavier, are the heart and soul of the X-Men. Cut out the heart and the body dies. Destroy the X-Men and the Sentinels are unbeatable. You sad, pathetic, screwed up little man. Do you think the X-Men are that easily beaten? Nice. And what does he say? He says, yeah, I do. Yeah. And he smacks her. And we see a cool side of Wolverine again. We haven't seen him become protective of Jean yet, right?
I actually wrote that down. This is a very much that we start seeing the first inklings of that.
Yeah. Of his chivalric side.
Yes.
And or whatever you want to call it. That tears it, bub. You can dump on me and Banshee all you like. But when you beat on the lady.
Banshee's like, excuse me.
To the Wolverine. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm all for, him taking all this stuff personally. And when was the last time you watched LA Confidential?
Probably the first time I watched it. So 97.
Okay. I don't know how much you like LA Noir.
Yeah, I dig it. I just haven't watched it.
Well, so some people also don't like watching movies they've already seen before.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But this one, it's Russell Crowe pre-fame.
Yeah, it's Guy Pearce,
Kim Basinger.
Yeah, it's a great cast. Kevin Spacey.
It's an excellent cast, and Kevin Spacey, Danny DeVito. Almost every character in it is a known actor.
James Cromwell.
Yeah, good one.
Thanks.
So
big Babe fan over
here. Russell Crowe's character is very much aligned with Wolverine, and if you had told me that in 1997 that guy's going to play Logan, I would have been 100% on board.
Russell Crowe,
with Russell Crowe as, and I bet you people over at 20th Century Fox were thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where he's holding on to the back of a wooden chair, and when he hears that there is a woman who is like at that moment tied up somewhere, and the perp in the witness room and interrogation room knows where she is, he's holding on to this back of the wooden chair, and he just snaps the back of the chair in half, and it turns into like just toothpicks in his hand. It shatters, and he jumps forward and just beats the snot out of this guy in the interrogation room to find out where the woman is being held hostage. And it just reminds me of like the surge of adrenaline going through Logan at this moment, as he sees someone that he cares about being beaten.
The other thing that struck me about this, and when he tears into the Sentinel, is I don't think I personally get much more glee from comic book reading or X-Men viewing than watching Wolverine tear into a Sentinel. Like it's done, and we've seen it in so many ways, often more often in the cartoon series.
Sure.
Speaking of that, But there's almost nothing better than watching this dude with unbreakable claws rip into hunks of metal.
Right.
It's super enjoyable and satisfying.
Look at this picture where we get Stephen Lang running up to it saying Sentinel T20, and the size difference.
Yes.
And then
until two panels over. Yeah.
It's totally inconsistent, which is it's fine.
Yeah, it is totally
Wolverine's double fisting, hands over his head. It's very animated and fun. I can't imagine a human being actually doing that.
It's great. No, but he's just tearing into metal. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, the bad guys run away, and they're running away. They're at the last panel, and if you're ready to advance, look at those. They get their costumes back.
Yeah.
And
second later, now I'm wearing my costume.
Banshee says, "Your claws, laddie. Lord above, they're part of you. We didn't know. Why would you, Irish? It's none of your business. What you doing, Red?" And he goes and he tears her dress.
It has the smirk on his face, too.
Oh, yeah, he loves it. But this is, again, like the necklace, the black torn dress, and the legs. This is how she's reintroduced into continuity years later, like 10 years later.
Very interesting.
They don't know what to do about Charles. Obviously,
Wolverine's prepared to leave him, by the way.
It's crazy. They also don't know where they are.
Right. It's pretty great, though. He's crippled and unconscious, so that's 2 strikes against him.
Yes.
Now we're going to carry him.
I think this panel where Wolverine is nose to nose with
Jean
is the same as the Storm one. I want to redraw. I'm going to just take a quick look.
From the previous issue.
Yeah.
Where he's about to hit Cyclops, and she's like, didn't answer to me.
It reminds me so much of it in terms of just like Wolverine's face. Obviously, Cockrum can draw something similar on different occasions. Was it just the last issue, or was it a couple of them?
I think so. This is Cyclops smack him. He's like, "You had the clean shot. You had the shot. You should have taken it to knock out Havoc."
It actually isn't that scene.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was, and I've already flipped past it. It might be when they are. I don't want to, spend any more time on this than I have to.
But it is reminiscent, Wolverine in the face of a strong-willed female character.
Yeah. I wish I found it faster. Nah, never mind. I'll again, it's one of those things where I'll look it up after and be thinking about it for days.
You'll text me at 2 a.m. I found it.
That's right. That's what happens to me, right?
It's this.
Take this away from me because I'm just flipping through.
Take it. I can't. I wish I could. I can't.
I have to stop. I just keep thinking I'm going to get there if I go one more page.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. Putting it away.
Banshee takes control here, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You don't, and again, he's really, as soon as the Sentinels arrive, it really sets him off. So he gets, he kind of becomes the leader in a sense. He takes charge. He says, "This way, let's do this." He kind of assumes that mantle, and then they're just surrounded. They're just surrounded, and they do their best. But we see more of the new Jean power set with the various colors when she uses her powers, and it's there's a lot more. There seems to be a lot more oomph to them than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as they're all going to escape, Banshee is like, "Hey, grab a hold, Shorty. We're busting out of here." And nothing is going to stop us.
Except.
And his powers are at full force. Or am I ahead of you?
I think you might be.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
If you want to go ahead, unless there's.
There you go. No, you got it. I'm here.
Flying through that page.
Yeah.
Tearing through, and all of a sudden the sound disappears. His scream comes to a halt.
Yeah.
"Nothing's going to stop us. I want to bet, Banshee," Chris Claremont says back.
Yeah, Banshee.
And the guys at the mansion are like, I can't find people anywhere. We've looked everywhere on Earth. We can't find them. And Kurt's like, hey, maybe that's part of your problem there, buddy. You've you know, you're looking on Earth and we can't find anything. Okay, that's fine. You're burned out. And they see someone is climbing over the fence. It's an odd choice. So Kurt goes out to find out who's climbing the fence. And they see it's Dr. Corbeau. So
with his PhD powers.
Yes. He's there to report what's happened. And they find out, well, that's the reason you can't find anyone on Earth.
Don't you see, Cyclops? Don't you see, Cyclops?
That's what the Sentinels were so worried about solar flares. Don't you see? They're not on Earth at all.
At all.
So we get a super cliffhanger here of Jean Grey, Banshee, and Wolverine floating in space. They've just burst through the outer hull of whatever ship or
whatever
satellite or base that they are on, or in, I should have said, but now they're out. And how long can they last out there? How long?
That's the Shatner ask. How long?
It's so dramatic.
Well, and one thing that I think is really good, we've seen it a couple times in some cliffhangers so far, is because the team is larger, you can have multiple characters at the end. Like this happens in Wolverine, Banshee, and Jean. Yeah. So like, and then next issue be what happens to Colossus and Nightcrawler. Like, you know what I mean? They can mix it up, mix and match, and it's good. It's a good device.
And I wonder if they had any idea how far this was going to go. I mean, this is the beginning of their transformation into Phoenix.
If they're anything like this guy, you're going to write about 6 issues ahead.
So they could wrap this up in the next issue. The first few pages, they get in the Stratojet. They, Jean puts a bubble around them. They go up in the Stratojet. They find them. Nightcrawler teleports each person in. Jean last, and
you're talking about the first scene in X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Well, it's the other way. Yeah, I mean, that film was having to reinterpret some of this stuff, but they could do that.
Yes,
and it could be over. But this starts off in almost like an Odyssey, where the team never gets back to this point of living all together in the status. Like the status quo is forever changing from here on out.
Okay.
And this is, again, like the sort of the start of that shift in the status quo.
Right.
Which is super exciting.
I'm excited. Issue 99 is next.
Yeah, well, it comes after 99.
The Wayne Gretzky of X-Men issues.
The Wayne Gretzky of X-Men issues is very exciting.
The great one. The Gretzky.
In the back half of this classic X-Men issue, there is a predominantly wordless story called A Love Story, which is Jean walking around New York doing grocery shopping and whatnot, and she's going home and preparing for her date with Scott. That's going to be the date that they're on that night at Rockefeller Center. And there's some obligatory topless moments where they hide her figure.
Dear God.
There's a Misty Night moment.
Sure.
But she's very much in love with Scott, so much so that let me show you a cute moment here where Jean uses her telepathy to bring some clothes of his.
Wow.
So she can just we're
getting enjoy. That's kind of, that's kind of creepy.
It is kind of creepy, but also kind of cute simultaneously. And she really misses this guy. So she
that reminds me of is the scene in Sleeping Beauty when the animals put on the cloak and the hat of Prince Philip, and she dances with Aurora. I'm just saying that's what it reminds me of.
Right.
And there she is in her bed because what?
She's kind of daydreaming. And
years later, we can show that to you.
She's choosing between the dresses, and then the clock strikes, and she goes to open the door, and there he is, looking like a 50-year-old man. I mean,
I was going to say, looking real, not anything but the old stick in the mud.
Yeah, he is.
But he's her stick in the mud.
But they have their moment. They have a dance, and then they go on their date. And the end of the issue is like the consequences of the Sentinel attack. Like it shatters the windows, and it's kind of.
Oh, and it's got.
Well, she had a poster on her wall.
She had a poster of the Phoenix?
Well, a poster of a book play. I have to. The Phoenix and the Carpet. What is the Phoenix and the Carpet?
And the Carpet?
Yes, you can look it up.
That sounds like Shakespeare's worst play. That sounds like he gave that to Marlowe. He's like, and Marlowe, I got an idea for you, Phoenix.
Well, also like the Crow and the Rug is also another one.
That's a great name for a bar.
Yeah,
the Crow and Rug.
The Crow and Rug.
And tonight, you and me, buddy, we're going to the Crow and Rug.
So Claremont likes to write these backups that have a lot of melancholy and solitary moments for characters where they reflect. And because he already knows what happens in the story that is taking place at the same time as these little vignettes, he often can tie it in when he wants to. So they're neat. They flesh out, again, these character things, but he also reframes characters' personalities with his experience. Like he can retcon whatever he wants, and it works on a kid. It fleshes out that world. And I found that when I was reading it, again, I was like 10 or 11 years old, the versions that Claremont would write in the 80s of these characters were more real to me than the versions from the 70s. The versions of the 70s felt like old-fashioned TV. Sure. They didn't feel like real people.
Sure.
So that's just how it was. There you go.
That's cool, man.
That is cool, man.
Super cool.
You and I have plans tomorrow to see each other for the first time since September.
Yeah, man. I think since since Fan Expo. So that was October.
Fan Expo. What am I talking about? I was thinking about being at the Dragon.
Yeah.
I couldn't actually. My weeks are all wrong. Yeah, we're going for burgers tomorrow.
Yes, we are.
I just checked to make sure it was still open.
Is it still open?
Their hours were.
And their hours are. They have hours, and they are open.
We're good. We're gonna go have.
I'm excited
burgers tomorrow.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited. I've been eating really smart for the last couple of days for the first time in a year. So I'm going to be feeling good tomorrow and ready to destroy.
Nice. It's gonna be fun.
I want to plug a comic.
Oh, we can plug that comic. Sure.
Peregrines.
Group 7 Comics number 7. Peregrines.
Comics number 7. Peregrines, the first issue in that series. Super excited about finishing the next one. And this is a great comic. You can get it. You can reach out to us.
Yep.
You can send us a comment in the comments on the YouTube and say that you want a copy. But best way to do it is to email us at probably info@group7comics.ca, and that 7 is a number.
Yeah.
Or go to www.group7comics.ca. 7 is the number.
Yeah, or hit us up on social at Group 7 Comics. Reach out to us.
At Chris Sanagan.
Yeah. At
Jason Lapidus Art. You can find us there. Give us a like, a subscribe. Let us know that you're enjoying the conversation. And we'd love to hear what your favorite X-Men comics are and what you dig about these old ones and connections that you see between the original run of what we call Second Genesis, or what's called Second Genesis of the X-Men, starting in 1975. Connections you can see to what happens in the amazing comics of the 1980s, what happens in the groundbreaking generational cartoon in the 90s, what happens
which is being continued,
what happens in the film franchise in the 2000s. The MCU is coming. X-Men are going to be joining the MCU shortly. And
is that part of the next phase? Like, do you think
no one's committed? But if you're Feige, you've got all these things going.
Oh, I know. But
it's not like they're hard up for news. They've got movies coming out now. Like, it's going again.
You heard about the Daredevil thing?
What's that?
The Daredevil thing?
What Daredevil thing?
Well, Feige just said they wouldn't recast Daredevil. They just said, all he said was, if Daredevil shows up in MCU, they wouldn't recast. They keep Charlie Cox.
That's awesome.
It is. And so of course everyone's like, "Whoa, Daredevil's in MCU." But basically one thing I read that I really enjoyed reading was like, well, they like bringing back, now that they've opened up the multiverse, they like different interpretations of characters. So maybe it's Charlie Cox, but different than the Netflix Charlie Cox,
Also, what about Ben Affleck?
Also, what about Ben Affleck? The multiple Daredevil verse? I'm
Wait,
on board.
wait. I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
Dolph
Did you
Lundgren?
ever see The Incredible Hulk, The Trial of the Incredible Hulk?
No.
So you know how there was the old Lou Ferrigno, Bill
Lou
Bixby
Ferrigno.
show
Yeah.
that then spun out when it was canceled. I think they made 2 or 3
Like movies.
made for TV movies.
Yeah.
The Trial of the Incredible. There's one that had Daredevil, one that had Thor,
Excuse me.
and one where he dies.
Oh, we should bring that Daredevil back.
So bring that Daredevil, bring Affleck and Charlie Cox, 3 Daredevils.
The
Come
DD
on.
right? Anyway, I have a feeling that, I mean, I know we've been building it up and we're trying not to have too many spoilers, but I do feel like No Way Home Spider-Man's going to just open up everything, probably what we might assume. Maybe not. I mean, they hold their cards pretty well, but
Yes, they do.
I do feel like we've been led down a path where the possibility for versions of characters, and we've seen it, and we've got glimpses of it in No Way Home. But I mean, we're at a precipice moment here where it could really explode.
So, for fun, do you think Charlie Cox will be in this movie?
I think he will. I think Matt Murdock will be in the movie. I don't think Daredevil will show up. I think Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox would show up. I know they're in some kind of legal capacity.
Right.
That's all. Or he's made mention of. Sure. Strange is like, well, there's this lawyer downtown. He might be able to help you out.
So just keeping in mind, of course, that She-Hulk is also a lawyer.
Right. So there you go, too. So
now, both. Why not?
Why not, right? Why wouldn't you have both?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm excited. It feels very. Is it next week? It's next week. 17th.
The 17th.
17th. I do feel like I might want to. I have not had much inclination to go to the theaters. I feel like that one based on just the hype. Maybe I feel like it. I feel like I should go see that one. Because I feel like if I don't see it soon too, like everybody's gonna be talking about it, and I'm just gonna like get some things will be ruined for me if I don't see it that opening.
I agree with you that some things will get ruined. I think it's going to be challenging to find a theater where we can get tickets, other than the ones near me. There's. Do you have Imagine Cinemas here in Guelph?
Imagine?
Yeah.
I don't think so. We have like Cineplex Odeons.
So all the advanced stuff is sold out.
Wow.
For the at least opening weekend.
Sure.
Our theaters here, like they'll go on sale maybe the Tuesday before the movie comes out. So okay. I want to hop on and get tickets to go see it. I'm not sure what's happening with Omicron, and whether I'll be allowed to take men or not.
Yeah,
but
not to mention Unicron.
So another just question. So we both think Charlie Cox will be in the movie.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're gonna surprise us with Miles Morales or no?
Oh, I have not even thought. I haven't even thought about that.
Well, if they're different Spider-Mans, I mean,
yeah.
I
don't know. I mean, I think if they, if they add in, Garfield and Maguire, maybe just in suit only, maybe it's not even that. Who knows, right? How would they add that? That's a pretty big thing. To add Morales would be another level, I think. I mean, they're really good at that. They're really good at like pulling the rug out from under us.
Yeah.
And they're really good at saying, okay, well, you know what? Let's bring these characters in and let's refer to them or let's whatever, right? So I'm on board for all of it. I feel like that movie though will be full of things. I'm excited to see Alfred Molina.
For sure.
You're not Peter. Like it's just like that, like just and the fact that they will use, and it's from what I understand, just based on the trailers, that they will use the character of Doc Ock, who not only was played incredibly well, but was such a complicated character in the way it was portrayed in Spider-Man 2, which made it that much more enjoyable. Was like, oh, he's the doctor who's like, oh, you're not Peter. Oh, so what is this? Right? Like he's curious and he's like, okay. Right? Like, and so he's not just a villain, like, ha. He's like, something's terribly wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dead in another world. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. It does feel like bringing in a villain character to help move the plot forward and help tease it out, because the character of Otto Octavius would actually be someone who would be quite curious as to what his current scenario is. And the fact that he thinks he's fighting Spider-Man, but you're not Peter. Like, I'm on board. I think it's great.
Before we call it, are you aware that at one point in recent years, Otto Octavius's body was dying, and his last sort of act was to transfer his consciousness, to swap consciousness with Peter?
Yes.
So he trapped Peter in his dying
comic
body.
Yes.
And he actually takes over as Spider-Man. So he considers himself the superior Spider-Man, and he just does Spider-Man's job way better.
Is that the title, Superior Spider-Man?
Yeah. That's what he's known as.
Okay.
So you knew about that already?
Yes, I did know that.
Okay.
That rings a bell.
Okay.
That's cool though.
Because you're going to be reading a comic book that has a reference to that, and I wanted to make sure you knew.
Okay, cool.
There you go, man.
There you go.
So another issue done. Next issue will be issue 99, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, cliffhanger.
Yes.
Where are they?
Let us find out what happens to those X-Men. Until next time.
Until the next time.
I'm Jason.
I'm Chris.
And we are going to have burgers tomorrow.
If you can, eat a burger in the next 24 hours. That's our only advice.
Yes. That's great. There you go.
There you go.
I'll eat a burger in 5 minutes.
It's just, okay.
All right. I'm going to end this.
All right.
See you later, everybody. Peace out.
Toodles.
It's not over yet.